He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. You know, you're my radio family, and we share a lot of information. And I'm so honored that you're out there. And I stepped back, started to think about what's swirling around us, you and me. You, Mr. and Mrs. America. You know how they say history repeats itself? Well, some history, my God, better never repeat itself. Those of us who are old enough were taught or read on our own what took place 100 years ago. We shook our heads. We saw the black and white films. Germany was an advanced country, an advanced science, advanced mathematics, hundreds of years of culture. Not a third world country, not a backward country. So how does a country like that produce an entire Nazi movement? And one of the worst mass murderers in the history of mankind. It happens when, early on, the citizenry, well, they don't want to believe what's taking place, so they ignore it. It happens when you have weak politicians who acquiesce to it. It happens when other people don't take it seriously. This is how it happens. What starts out as a cabal winds up as a movement. It's the way totalitarianism often works. And then one day it's so bad, you aren't concerned about it, you're worried about it. But it's too late. It's too late. We see this happening to Jews, and we see this happening to Christians all over the world. Christians are being targeted in Africa. There just aren't enough Jews. So the Islamists are slaughtering Christians, black Christians. Because in Africa, most of the people are black. And they're slaughtering them. Now, typically, you hope that advanced Western societies will, at a minimum, speak out at a minimum. Now, the 1930s saw a movement, an isolationist movement. The Depression hit, and the isolationists thought it was the time to exploit it. How? To create foils, to create enemies. And it was the Jews. The Jews. The Jews controlled the banks. The Jews controlled foreign policy. The Jews controlled commerce. The Jews. The Jews controlled entertainment, the movies. They controlled everything, this tiny, tiny percentage of the population. Money changers. They're running the country. The Rothschilds. They're running the country. Now, some of you may have thought this is just too preposterous. This must have ended with Hitler and the end of World War II. But it has not. It's back. For several reasons. Among other reasons, we've imported the enemy. Islamists. We've imported Islamists who know how to play the game. They're so brazen, though. They're so out in the open. They're telling us exactly what they want to do. They're in a hurry. So let's get past the Jew part. Let's get to the Christian part, and let's just destroy the entirety of the United States. That's why people who seek to divide we Americans based on faith and race and so forth, these are diabolical people. We need our unity now more than ever. We need our Judeo-Christian belief system now more than ever. We need to hold tight onto it. We have left-wing Democrat lawyers who serve as judges who will not allow the administration to deport these people. We have Democrat governors and mayors who bring out their typical militia. The militia, you know, the paid-for so-called protesters. They use their billionaires to pay for them. They have their source prosecutors not to prosecute them. And they have their Democrats in Congress who have shut down a very important element within our government relating to national security and airline security in order to protect their new constituents, their militia, the Islamists. The Islamists and the Marxists have aligned. The same end. As I've been writing and speaking, the same end. The destruction of our civilization. A rejection of the Declaration, a rejection of the Enlightenment. Certainly rejection of Jews and Christians. See, they know that Jews and Christians are tied at the hip. Then there's elements in the Republican Party, but they're not really in the Republican Party. You have individuals who are more of the neo-fascist type. They call themselves nationalists when they're not calling themselves populists. I call myself an American. They're playing right out of the 1930s playbook, out of the America First Committee that was formed in the 30s, beginning by students at Yale University, or is it Yale College, I guess. It became the largest pacifist, so-called anti-war organization in America, 800,000 members. It had prominent members on its board, including Henry Ford, who was a devout Jew hater, and Charles Lindbergh. Very articulate, a hero, gave one of the most grotesque anti-Semitic speeches of any public official. And Father Coughlin, who sounds very much like this woman who was on the president's Religious Liberty Committee. She's Father Coughlin in a dress, that is, when she's dressed. He was one of the most popular radio hosts in America, just as Tucker is a very popular podcaster. He was platformed today by Megyn Kelly. Now, these are people you wouldn't want to have dinner with. These are people you wouldn't want to be around with. Carlson's comments are those of a Goebbels-like Hitler wannabe. He would have fit in beautifully, and I am not kidding, with the Third Reich. Beautifully. He got down all the hate language. He would have sided, in my view, with Germany against the United States, the way he sides with Iran against the United States and Putin against the United States while he pretends to be Mr. America. But that's not what I wanted to talk to you about. Where are the Republicans? There's a few of them. I'm tired of them whispering to me, telling me how awful Tucker is and patting me on the back for taking him on. That's been going on for almost a year. Where are they? Why aren't they condemning him? Why aren't they condemning him and his Goebbels-like propaganda and the sort of Hitlerian movement he hopes to build? This is exactly what happened in the 30s, actually the late 20s. They had a parliament there, and members of the parliament were mostly silent in the face of Hitler. There's a long story that can be told about all of this. You can check it out on my video podcast. Is it still downloading, Mr. Producer? We're good. So it just got up there because we had some technical issue. Liberty's Voice, and I walk all through it. But Lindbergh would go around the country giving speeches. And this America First Committee was made up of communists, fascists, regular Americans who got sucked into it. Then we were attacked by the Japanese December 7, 1941, and they disbanded 3 days later. Lindbergh was disgraced. So were the others. Disgraced. Now we were at war. See, the enemy didn't attack Jews and Christians. They attacked the United States of America. They attacked our Navy. The enemy today, Iran, they want to blow us off the face of the earth. They are obsessed with getting nuclear weapons. Anybody who thinks some kind of a deal, some kind of a negotiation, diplomacy, some kind of a paper agreement will stop them is dead wrong. And if that's the outcome of this, I pray to God it's not, then we will have surrendered to it. In the name of a ceasefire, in the name of a peace agreement, whatever it is, we will have surrendered to the enemy. Despite the massive armadas that are there in the Middle East. It's time for people to speak out. I'm calling on the Republicans, the elected Republicans in Congress, Republican governors, senators, congressmen, state assemblymen, state senators. Your silence is deafening. It's disastrous for the country. It is disastrous for the party. It's disastrous for our foreign policy. It's time that Carlson be persona non grata, that he not have his way walking through the White House anymore. He's kryptonite. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I want to read this to you from the Jerusalem Post. U.S.-Iran nuclear talks were positive, quote-unquote. Next round to be held in Vienna, source tells the Post. What is this, happy hour? What the hell's going on here with these terrorists? I mean, really? This drags on and on and on. We look, to me, more and more foolish. Whatever happens in the end. The U.S. left the negotiating table during the third round of talks, between the U.S. and Iran on Thursday, Iranian media reported. Oman's foreign minister, Saeed Badr bin Hamad al-whatever, yabba dabba do, described the talks as having made significant progress, quote-unquote, and announced that more discussions will take place next week in Vienna. Ladies and gentlemen, what's to discuss? They cheat and they lie. Why are we doing this? It's a head fake, you tell me. It's the longest head fake in the history of mankind. Now, I'm not saying ultimately the president won't pull the trigger. In fact, I believe he will, and I pray he will. But nonetheless, I want to keep pressing the point because there are isolationists who have a different point of view. I think it's perfectly fine if the enemy gets nuclear weapons, and it's perfectly fine if they keep threatening to use them against us. I happen to love my country, my fellow citizens, my children and grandchildren, and I don't think it's perfectly fine. In the least. I'll be right back.
Where Americans meet to defend liberty and defeat tyranny. Call the Mark Levin Show now at 877-381-3811.
Senator John Kennedy on the floor of the Senate today addressing the Ayatollah. Cut one, go.
Now, everybody has the right to believe what they want. I'll tell you what the Ayatollah believes. He's Muslim, but his strain of Islam says that if you do not agree with his interpretation of God, then you deserve to die. You do. And he acts on that belief. Now, let me say again, the Ayatollah is entitled to believe what he wants. I was raised a Presbyterian. My parents founded 2 Presbyterian churches. When Becky and I got married, Becky was a Methodist. I was a Presbyterian. We compromised. I became a Methodist. I'm entitled to believe what I want. But the Ayatollah not only thinks that I'm going to hell because I don't agree with his religion, he wants to kill me. He wants to kill Americans and Israelis and anybody who does not believe in his jihad and drink our blood out of a boot. And he's acted on that. I don't need to tell you, Mr. President.
Mm-hmm. Mark Wayne Mullen, senator from Oklahoma, on CNN yesterday. Cut 2, go.
If we obliterated it, we being the United States last summer, then why are you worried about it right now?
See, this is the game. This is the game. This is why Caitlin Collins is so disgusting, and yet she fits beautifully into the CNN environment. Now, the answer to that is simple. The senator gives the answer. Why does anybody think we need to do this now? Because they're rebuilding, right, Rich? So why such a stupid question other than to try and take a cheap shot at the president? I'm also sick of this, too. Sick of these prepubescent, low IQ, unaccomplished, self-assigned journalists. I'm sick of it. Go ahead.
Building it, and you can see them rebuilding it.
But it was
not
obliterated.
enriching. Well, but it doesn't mean you can't rebuild. I mean, people have car accidents and obliterate their bones and their legs, and yet they can still put, metal back in them and walk again.
But I think if it was obliterated in June, how is it February, and we're now, as Steve Witkoff put it, a week away from Iran having this?
I don't know. I can't speak for Steve. I haven't got those reports, and I've been read in on some of these programs, and so I don't know what Steve was looking at. I don't say he's wrong or right. I just haven't seen those reports.
What is the point of this questioning? What is the point of it? Does she honestly believe that this regime is going to stop when it's not? Does she know what she's talking about? Does she even understand what she's talking about, who we're dealing with? Go ahead.
The president said that they had 10 to 15 days. The president doesn't bluff to stop pushing forward with rebuilding their nuclear sites. And by the way, if it takes us removing the Ayatollah from keeping the nuclear program from moving forward, then that's not off the table. But we would prefer diplomacy. The reason why the president
I don't prefer diplomacy, so maybe you do, and some of the other Republicans do. Why would I prefer diplomacy? How does diplomacy work with a regime like this? I really need to screw down on this. I really need to bear down on this. I'm not understanding this because it's incoherent. We prefer diplomacy. I prefer, M&Ms. So what? We prefer diplomacy. We're not children. We're not naive. This is a regime that prefers war. This is a regime that prefers terrorism. This is a regime that's killed over 1,000 Americans. Does that matter? This is a regime that has maimed tens of thousands of Americans. Does that matter? It matters to me. And exactly how will we make sure they're not building nuclear weapons? And what happens if they are? We're going to send 2 more armadas over there after we pull them back? No. Will a future president do it? No. Did we do that with North Korea? No. Did we sign agreements with North Korea? More than we can count. We tried everything. We gave them money. We removed our nukes from South Korea. And guess what? There are no nukes in South Korea. There are 50 in North Korea. So what is this? We prefer diplomacy. We prefer a deal. If you're dealing with somebody and they don't even want to cut your throat, let's put it this way. If you're dealing with somebody and you're negotiating for a car, a sale of a car, and that individual has lied to you repeatedly, they've told you the car is fine, turns out on one occasion the transmission is not fine. All right, give him another chance. Then it turns out the engine's not fine. Then you give him another chance. Turns out the air conditioning's not fine. Then you give him another. How many chances do they get? We prefer a negotiation. Now, take that example and throw it away. Imagine a country, imagine nuclear weapons, ICBMs, and ballistic missiles that you're dealing with a death cult, not a car. Does any of this make sense to anybody other than the neo-fascists, the Marxists, and the Islamists? Regular Americans, does any of this make sense to you? No, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. We have progress in our negotiations, reads the newspaper report. What does that even mean? That they're going to agree to something that they're not going to uphold? I mean, are you and I supposed to pretend that these aren't psychopaths obsessed with obliterating us and our children and our grandchildren? When that's when they tell us? What does that mean, we're making progress? It means they're making progress. Because if there's a deal, any deal, regardless of what the deal says, I'm sorry, it's surrender. We have a sponsor out there. I'm not going to mention them. First of all, we have fantastic sponsors. One that thinks I'm talking too much about this stuff, Mr. Producer. None of the ones that you currently hear. I'm thinking to myself, then leave. This is life and death stuff. There are comedy channels, there are music channels, there's how-do channels. Radio is a big field. It's a big field. But when the hammer does come down, either our hammer on them or their hammer on us, people are going to say, why didn't we do anything about it? Why didn't anybody say anything about it? I pray to God that doesn't happen. But it will be a refrain that will be used. Well, at least they won't be able to say that about you, Mr. and Mrs. America, and me. We are well informed. We are up to date. And that's the way it's supposed to be in a free republic. There's all kinds of candy ass going on out there. On radio, on TV, on podcasts, on God knows what else. It's all available. 10 days from now, you won't even know what they're talking about. It's okay. To each his own. To each his own. But the pots and pans need to be banged. The sirens need to go off. This is not a joke. It's very, very serious. And honestly, I am appalled and frustrated and stunned that when we're talking about a terrorist regime that has taken over a country, that is hell-bent and using technology from the Chinese and others on having ballistic missiles that can reach our country, with nuclear warheads and biological warheads and chemical warheads, that this is too much to handle? Shame, shame, shame. This is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. Exactly what we're supposed to be doing with free speech and these amazing platforms. I don't take any of it for granted. I think it's very serious and very important. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Now, all of a sudden, the Democrats think you have to declare war when you make war. There's no such thing. It's a lie. We have constitutional illiterates. They're radical libertarians who fancy themselves constitutional experts. You're not a constitutional expert if you take your ideology and use it as the basis for interpreting the Constitution. That's not the way it's supposed to work. The way it's supposed to work, and even Montesquieu wrote about this, is you look at the text of it and you interpret it and apply it. And if the text doesn't help you, you go to the next level, which is you look at the legislative history, the history around it. And that's what the court needs to do when it comes to this phony birthright citizenship. They need to look at the Constitution, and they won't find it. They need to look at the word jurisdiction in the context of when it was written, and what they will find is that it had absolutely nothing to do with foreigners having children in our country, that is, illegal aliens. Zero. The Constitution is a force. It's our mooring. Unless, of course, the people who take an oath and swear on a Bible to uphold the Constitution violate their oath. That's a whole different story. Now, Claire McCaskill is a loser. She's a Democrat who was in the Senate. She lost her seat in Missouri. I'd say she's just another pretty face on TV, but that's not true either, Mr. Producer. And so listen to this. Here we are on the precipice of war, that is, responding to war. We've been the victim, the subject, the target of war for 47 years by that regime. And hopefully, finally, we're going to do something about it and put an end to it. Here's Claire McCaskill on the Morning Schmo Show. Cut 3, go.
It is shocking to me that Donald Trump is this close to declaring what could be the biggest war in the Middle East in our lifetimes. And that's saying something, considering what we went through both in Iraq and Afghanistan, without really making the case to the American public. If you look back at what happened...
Hold on. He's made the case over and over again. He said they cannot have a nuclear weapon. They cannot keep slaughtering their people. He's made the case. But you know what, Claire McCaskill? Here's what's interesting. We, the people, are pretty sharp. This has been going on for 47 years. The case has been made. The case has been made by the enemy. We know who the enemy is. It's not like we need somebody to tell us. This may be complicated for you, but no, they'll do anything they can to throw obstacles in front of this president. They want him to fail, even if it means us losing a military battle. I'm not kidding. That's their mindset. Go ahead.
Invasion of Iraq. There was a lot of work by the Bush White House, which in history has shown some of it was incorrect. But nonetheless, they felt an obligation to at least have the country be on board with what they were doing and why they were doing it. What I'm most worried about, after sitting in briefing after briefing, both in the United States Senate... She's not
even in the Senate. She was thrown out. I could be wrong. I think Josh Hawley beat her. Somebody beat her. She was thrown out. Now, I'm not going to condemn George W. Bush here, but I will say that he had his way of handling it, and President Trump has his way of handling it. And I suspect if President Trump decides to go forward, decides to be a Churchill, that I'll handle it very, very, very well. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. The good news is Liberty's Voice, my video podcast, is up. It's running. It's brand new. You can get it over at YouTube on Liberty's Voice. You can get it at Rumble on the Mark Levin Show. But in any event, you just go to Rumble and you follow me, and there it is. It's all free, obviously. And you go to YouTube and you subscribe and watch it. It's all free. And you can just view it as long as you wish and so forth. I try to make sure there's some kind of a history lesson. It's the 250th anniversary. I think you're the perfect audience for this. I think the substance of my video podcast and this radio program and my Fox show, they're all integrate quite beautifully in my view. So if you like the Fox show and my radio show, I know you're going to like Liberty's Voice. If you like Liberty's Voice, you're going to like the rest, and so forth and so on. I don't do the same thing on each program. They're all quite distinct. But the principles that underlay them and the mindset that underlays them, that's obviously the same. And I try and make it as interesting and educational and intriguing and entertaining as possible. And if you don't watch it, I won't do it. We put a lot of work into this. I would say this to you, just so people ask me, how do you do this, how do you do that? On the days that I'm now doing this video podcast, which should be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but the last 2 weeks have been Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I want to get back to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We've done 6. Now, I tend to go to bed late, maybe 2 in the morning. I'm working on stuff, I'm reading stuff, or something's keeping me awake that's concerning me, sometimes 3 in the morning. And then I wake up at 6 in the morning to do my research for Liberty's Voice, my video podcast, because I really just don't want to blow your time. I want it to be worthwhile. And my wife gets worried. Everybody gets worried. This is what I do. And on those days when I'm also preparing for my Fox program, Life, Liberty, and Levin, same routine. So when do I prepare for radio? Morning, noon, and night. I'll send Mr. Producer articles or links to historical sites and so forth and so on throughout the course of the day and night when he is sleeping and he wakes up to it. Same with posting. I write every single thing I post. I retweet every single thing that's retweeted. I'm giving you this information because people are always asking me. But I don't personally put these things up. Mr. Producer does. I send them to him. He takes a look at it just because I'm looking for any errors or anything, and he puts it up. That's how we work. Mr. Producer and I have been working together for almost 25 years, I'd say. Something like that. Just about, right? Harry Enton fascinates me, this guy. He's the data analyst for CNN. And he may come up with numbers that we don't like, but I believe the man has integrity. I believe he tries to be objective. And so, when it hits Democrats, it hits Democrats. When it hits Republicans, it hits Republicans. And he's also entertaining as hell. Who the heck can turn a dry subject like data points and polling into something that's actually quite interesting? Well, he does it. He pulls it off. So here he was, Harry Enton, on CNN today. Democrats are polling worse on immigration than they did during Trump's first term. So all this attack on ICE, all this talk, and there he was during the State of the Union address, and the president set a trap and they fell for it. Stand up if you believe that the job of the government is to protect American citizens or illegal aliens. Every single Democrat stayed in their chair. Every single Republican stood up. How do you think the vast majority of Americans would have reacted? They would have stood up, regardless of party, regardless of race, regardless of sex, regardless of anything else. So here he is. Cut 6. Go.
This, I think, is so important to note. After all the events in Los Angeles, after all the events in Minneapolis, after all the events of the last year on immigration, can Democrats actually take advantage on this issue? And a look at the polling suggests actually no. They're in a worse position than they were at this point during Donald Trump's first term. Take a look here. Trust which party more on immigration. In 2018, Democrats had an edge of about 6 points. You come over to this side of the screen now, look at that. Republicans are the ones who actually have an edge on immigration. So this whole idea that Democrats are going to be able to take advantage of the immigration group, of the immigration issue, actually doesn't bear itself out in the polling, despite everything that's been going on. In fact, Democrats are in worse position than they were during Donald Trump's first term.
Yeah, maybe they don't like what Donald Trump, the president, is doing, but they don't think Democrats will do a better job.
Correct. They think Democrats will do a worse job on immigration than Republicans.
Who is that host with the IQ of a cucumber? What is his? John Berman? he is, he's sort of a comedian, but he doesn't mean to be. All right. More Harry Enton today. Who do you trust on the border? Cut 7, go.
What about border security in general?
Okay, border security in general. So this is immigration at large. What about border security? Look at this. Look at these numbers. Hello. Party trusted more in border security. Again, at this point, Trump's terms. Look at this. In 2018, Republicans had a 13-point advantage. If anything, the advantage is a little bit larger now. Republicans up by 15 points. So when you put it all together, you put immigration with border security and the idea that Democrats will be able to take the ball and run away on it. The polling data suggests no. This is actually an issue that Republicans should be more comfortable running on than Democrats. Democrats running on immigration may actually be to the Republicans' advantage.
What about when you compare President Trump with former President Biden?
Yeah, okay. So, we speak about President Trump's approval rating, right, on immigration not being as high as it once was. But I'll tell you who the heck it's a lot higher than at this point in his term, and that's the predecessor, Joe Biden. Look at this, approval on immigration at this point in presidency. Biden was at just 34%. Donald Trump looks a whole heck of a lot better when you compare him to the alternative at 45%. And this, I think, is the big takeaway from this segment, which is you can't just look at something in isolation. You have to compare it to the alternative. And in this particular case, when you take a look at immigration and you compare Republicans to the alternative Democrats, this is an issue that Republicans should really like, and President Trump should like the comparison to Joe Biden.
Boy, he's more excited than I am. And I'm very excited about this. So this should be a wind at the back of the administration. Don't be intimidated by the Democrats and their media. Don't be intimidated by the Democrats and their militia. Don't be intimidated by the Democratic Socialists of America and their sugar daddies in communist China, in communist Cuba, and in Venezuela. I do that because Bernie Sanders does it, obviously. So they're losing on this. And just keep in mind, the TSA isn't getting paid. FEMA is pretty much shut down. Other elements of DHS, same thing, because the Democrats want to destroy ICE. And ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, exists to protect us from illegal aliens, from drug pushers and drug cartels. And the Democrats don't like that. So they've been trying to use this issue, to propagandize this issue, to twist it out of form, because they think it'll help them. Gavin Newsom has been making an ass out of himself. Now, he's always been an ass. And Gavin Newsom has all but destroyed the state of California economically, in terms of immigration and every other respect. I find him to be absolutely clownish and moronic, and a complete loser who's done great destruction. Can't get water to the fire hydrants. That Palisades area is still unbuilt. In fact, they're going to turn it over for, public housing projects. You don't see people pouring into California. You see them pouring out of California. So I wanted to bring Steve Hilton on the program today. Steve Hilton for Governor.com. He's actually doing a hell of a job. We'll take a look at that. But I want him to react to some of the things Newsom said about Rubio, about Vance. His book says he can't read because he's dyslexic. Well, apparently he can read enough to write a book, Mr. Producer. I find this guy to be a phony in every respect. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know what Pure Talk's favorite holiday is? President's Day. Because they believe wireless service should only cost you a couple of presidents. Just a Jackson and a Lincoln, to be exact. For $25 a month, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Now compare that to Big Wireless. They'd rather celebrate Benjamin Franklin Day so they can charge your family hundreds every month, and he wasn't even a president. That's not right. You deserve better. Pure Talk is an American wireless company that supports our veterans and invests in a U.S.-only customer service team. When you call, you're talking to someone right here at home. Pure Talk uses the same towers as the big carriers, so enjoy superior 5G coverage without the inflated price. Just $25 a month for talk, text, plenty of data, no contract, no cancellation fee. Don't wait any longer, folks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin. You'll get 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch to Pure Talk. We're here with our friend Steve Hilton. Steve Hilton for governor.com. Let's give him a hand. Let's help him out. He's been a great candidate, as a matter of fact. Steve, how are you?
I'm very well, Mark. I'm leading in the polls. How about that? In California.
Tell us about
looking
this.
Good.
Tell us.
It's good. It's good. The latest Emerson poll had me ahead of all the candidates, all the Democrats and the other Republicans. Another one out today. It's feeling like there's a real energy. People are sick of the far left nonsense. It's a disaster in California. There was the first TV debate. This was a couple of weeks ago, broadcast statewide. It was me against 6 Democrats. They did a poll of the viewing audience statewide, not Republicans. It was just completely open, and most of them got in the single digits. The nearest one to me got 17%. I got 66% of the statewide audience thought I won that debate. And, of course, I'm kind of bragging about it, Mark, but the truth is all I did was stand there and tell the truth very clearly and strongly and simply, which is after 16 years of one-party rule, everything's a disaster. We have the highest poverty rate, highest unemployment rate, highest cost of living in America. Newsom's the most useless governor in America, and it's obviously time for change.
And now he's out there with a book, which is odd because he says he can't read. I'm just saying it's kind of weird. And the thing is, he's attacking Rubio and Vance. What would you say about that?
So he is a joke. He's running around trying to attack people who he may run against in the future, like Rubio, like Vance, like the president now, making these partisan political attacks, while his state is sometimes literally, definitely figuratively, on fire. And he's just running around preening for Vogue magazine, these ridiculous articles, the media lauding him as the future of the Democratic Party. His record is a complete disaster. How dare he attack anyone in this administration that's achieving these great results across the board? I mean, you look at the rest of the country, look at the State of the Union, booming, gas prices down, investment up, jobs being created, factories being built, everywhere except California, where gas prices are going up, businesses are moving out, poverty is increasing, unemployment the highest in the country, etc. I can't believe he's even being taken seriously as someone who could lead our country.
Yeah, me either. The media really don't like to dig into his record. He says that the population in California has been increasing the last 3 years. Has it been increasing with American citizens? I'm just curious. Do you know?
Exactly. American citizens, net outflow in the hundreds of thousands. The reason that the population's been going up, we guessed it, illegal immigration. That's why the population's been going up. Of course, now that's stopped at the border, at least in the California southern border, thanks to the president. And that's where so much of the money's going. It's one of my key promises in the campaign is to stop the free health care for illegal immigrants, now up to about $20 billion a year. Newsom brags about that. Meanwhile, healthcare costs are going up, wait times are going up because so many people using hospitals and clinics, and it's just a disaster. Everywhere you look, it's a disaster.
Now, the election, the primary, when is that?
It's June the 2nd. Of course, we have this insane early voting, a month-long vote period. The ballots go out beginning of May. And then on top of that, we have this ridiculous top 2 system in California, where the top 2 vote getters go through regardless of party. You could end up with 2 Democrats. You often do in California. Right now, I'm leading the pack, so it's looking good. But, the big unions are about to pick their candidate. And when we look at the Democrat field, this is why I'm optimistic that we can win this year, Mark, because if you look at the Democrats running, it's hard to imagine, but they're even worse than Newsom. I mean, as the president might say, they're not sending their best. You got Eric Swalwell, Katie Porter, the billionaire climate fanatic, Tom Steyer. These people are a joke. So I'm feeling optimistic, but we've got to get into the top two. And the thing that the Democrats often do with all the money, their corrupt money from the government unions, they try and pick the candidate they want to run against. And so the fear is that they may try and pick a weaker Republican. And there's another Republican running. He's a sheriff from Riverside County. And he's got so much baggage. I pointed this out in the first debate. He took a knee for Black Lives Matter during the BLM riots in 2020. He's for amnesty. He's all over the place on immigration. Now, the Democrats like him because they know that they can beat him. And so it's very important we get focused on that. And my argument right now to the party is you've got to get behind the strongest Republican, and that's me.
Is there some question about that? Is the party splintered, or what's going on with them?
Well, the California Republican Party doesn't endorse officially until, and they may not at all. That's a vote of delegates. That's a whole bureaucratic process. That happens in April. So we're all fighting it out on the campaign trail. I'm leading at the moment. I'm leading in the polls. I'm leading in fundraising, as I mentioned in the TV debate. But, you know, there's a danger that we split the Republican vote, and that means that you could end up with two Democrats in the final. That would be a total disaster. But the other thing to be optimistic about is in a midterm election, obviously, it's all about turnout, getting your voters out. And as I always point out when people say a Republican can't win in California, if you look at the estimate of the number of votes that I will need to win in November this year, President Trump got more votes than that in 2024 in California without even campaigning him. My target number of votes, 5.9 million. The president got 6.1 million. So if we get every single Trump voter out, I'll win. And so that's not an easy thing to do in a midterm election, but it's not impossible. And we've got a very big secret weapon this year, which is voter ID, is going to be on the ballot in California. And of course, Republicans will really go out and vote for that. So this really could be our year to end the insanity here in California.
That is fantastic. So that is on the ballot, voter ID.
Yeah, we've Citizens Initiative. We've got the signatures. It's going to be on the ballot in November in California.
Well, look, have I endorsed you yet, by the way?
I think you did, Mark, but I'd love to hear it again.
Okay, I endorse you for governor. I don't want it to hurt you either, you know. But I think you'd be a fantastic governor. And, boy, what a breath of fresh air that would be for the whole country if that were the case. Just keep it up, man. You're making a difference. We appreciate it, and we'll have you back for sure.
Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate it. See you soon.
All right. Thank you. Go to SteveHiltonForGovernor.com. Help him out. He's a good man. SteveHiltonForGovernor.com. And he's so filled with energy and optimism. I always like to hear that. We'll be right back. You know what Pure Talk's favorite holiday is? President's Day. Because they believe wireless service should only cost you a couple of presidents. Just a Jackson and a Lincoln, to be exact. For $25 a month, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Now compare that to Big Wireless. They'd rather celebrate Benjamin Franklin Day so they can charge your family hundreds every month, and he wasn't even a president. That's not right. You deserve better. Pure Talk is an American wireless company that supports our veterans and invests in a U.S.-only customer service team. When you call, you're talking to someone right here at home. Pure Talk uses the same towers as the big carriers, so enjoy superior 5G coverage without the inflated price. Just $25 a month for talk, text, plenty of data, no contract, no cancellation fee. Don't wait any longer, folks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin. You'll get 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch to Pure Talk.
The Mark Levin Show, live and national at 877-381-3811.
We were talking to the great Steve Hilton. Oh, God, that would be unbelievable and wonderful if he could be governor of California and begin to turn that state around. He's got more energy than the energy bunny. Here's Newsom on MS Now yesterday. He's hawking a book that he can't read. I guess he gets the audio version. Cut 13, go.
It seemed like part of the strategy was shining a light on capitulation by companies, by the media at times, by universities, by law firms.
Who is this, Psaki? Psaki was a propagandist under Obama, was a propagandist for Biden, helped cover up the fact that he had dementia, which is no joke. It certainly isn't good for the country. And there she is. She's treated like a legitimate journalist and host. And she's giving him information that he should use, you see, because he's too much of a moron, adult. Go ahead.
And sold knee pads.
Well, they sold out.
There you go.
On my Patriots site, which is a real thing.
This guy is a clown. He's desperate to find a way to weasel himself in through not-so-cute behavior, knee pads and things like that. He doesn't even come up with it in the first place. He's too stupid. But the record is the record. He took the greatest state in the country, the most vibrant state in the country, and he destroyed it. That's what he did. He destroyed it financially. He destroyed it in terms of immigration, crime, affordability. Man, oh man, I hope they run on affordability. Whoever the Republican nominee is should be able to ram that down his throat. And let me tell you something else. We are going to be very, very active in the Republican primaries. Very. We cannot screw this up. Go ahead.
As you suggest, our universities, like our law firms, like a lot of our corporate media has been selling out. A lot of corporate leaders.
Everybody's selling out to Donald Trump. Don't you see, ladies and gentlemen? They're selling out. Selling out? What are you even talking about, you moron? Go ahead.
Corporations quite literally selling out. Golden shares.
How are
10%.
Corporations quite literally selling out? What are they selling quite literally that's selling out? Idiot. Go ahead.
Free enterprise has shifted now into crony capitalism and state capitalism.
Gee, we've never heard that before. Crony capitalism. This guy's crony socialism. We don't need any lectures from this loser. Go ahead.
Disgrace. I mean, no character. We can lose this republic. We can lose our country.
No, you know, this makes me sick to my stomach. We can lose our republic, lose our country. If we elect Republicans or we elect Donald Trump, are we losing our republic under the Republicans, ladies and gentlemen? Who is it that used the IRS against their political opponents, the Tea Party, as well as Donald Trump? Who is it that used federal law enforcement and the justice system against Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, citizen Donald Trump, president? Who is it that used the justice system to get phone records of Republican members of the Senate and the House? Who is it? Who is it that got information that they shouldn't have on Susie Wiles when she was a private citizen? Now she's chief of staff, and Kash Patel. I mean, the list is a very, very long one. If you read my book, On Freedom of the Press, you don't have to, I'm just telling you. I have chapter and verse about how Democrat presidents use the IRS, the Treasury Department, use the FBI, use the CIA against their political opponents, even other Democrats. How they used wiretaps, espionage, political. And how, of course, they worked hand in glove with the media. It is a corrupt, alien-type party, this Democrat Party. It truly is. Go ahead.
All of them are complicit. And the ones that are silent, with all due respect, are as well. We have to meet this moment, and we're up against something that is so insidious, so extraordinary, so
This is
deviant.
how he hopes to get elected. With these bromides. With these shibboleths. Bumper stickers. Fear-mongering. That's all they've got. They have nothing else. What are their policies? They're destructive of your life, of your family, of your job. Seriously, what are they going to run on? They voted against all the tax cuts for working people. Overtime. And tips. And seniors on Social Security. And family members who are trying to take care of other family members. They voted against every one. They voted for massive increases in health care under the failed Obamacare. And you look at his record. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy has an 8-year record, or will be 8 years, as governor. It is a disaster. He has a record as the mayor of San Francisco. It is a disaster. He's a one-man wrecking ball. So he's out there that everybody's selling out, but him, of course. He's not selling. Everybody else is selling out. If you don't agree with him, you're selling out. If you support Donald Trump, you're selling out. The Republicans in danger. We got to meet the moment. We're going to lose our country. Look at his state. Look what the hell he's done to the hardworking people in California. Their homes burned down. There's no water in the fire hydrants. The same thing over and over again. They don't properly tend to their forests and their wooded areas. Water shortages. It seems to me, if you can't get water in your fire hydrant, that in and of itself disqualifies you from running for president of the United States. But not for the Democrats. That's a resume enhancer. Spends more time traveling. When did he write this book? When could he have written this book? I want to know when he wrote it. Mr. Producer, will you invite the governor on this program? There's no way he'll come on this program. We have a hard and fast rule here. I will debate the best debaters in the country. However, I don't debate Nazis, Jew haters, Christian haters, traitors. And that defines Tucker Carlson. There's nothing to debate. My goal with them is to defeat them, is to crush them, not platform them. All right, I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know what Pure Talk's favorite holiday is? President's Day. Because they believe wireless service should only cost you a couple of presidents. Just a Jackson and a Lincoln, to be exact. For $25 a month, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Now compare that to Big Wireless. They'd rather celebrate Benjamin Franklin Day so they can charge your family hundreds every month, and he wasn't even a president. That's not right. You deserve better. Pure Talk is an American wireless company that supports our veterans and invests in a U.S.-only customer service team. When you call, you're talking to someone right here at home. Pure Talk uses the same towers as the big carriers, so enjoy superior 5G coverage without the inflated price. Just $25 a month for talk, text, plenty of data, no contract, no cancellation fee. Don't wait any longer, folks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin. You'll get 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch to Pure Talk. So we have the executive director of CAIR's Ohio division. Do we? I think we have the audio on this, don't we, Rich, or am I wrong? I want you to listen to this piece of crap, ladies and gentlemen. That's exactly what he is. He is a piece of crap. Khalid Tarani, who would have guessed? It's nauseating. He's the Ohio executive director of CAIR. I want you to listen to what he says. And this is going on all over the country. This group, CAIR, is public enemy number one. We have a lot of public enemies number one, actually, but it's certainly one of them, if not at the top of the list. Hat tip, stop anti-Semitism, go.
Israeli Channel 10 reported in March of 2014 that Israel has the largest human skin bank in the world. Where do you think they got all this skin from? They have more human skin than China and India. They are literally skinning the dead bodies of my brothers and sisters in Palestine.
Oh my God.
That's where they are getting the human skin from. And if I call them Nazis, your law is going to punish me.
I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't know what to say. I'm telling you now, these are the kinds of statements that were resonating during the birth of the Third Reich. The building up of this hate for another people just based on their religion. And so much of this comes out of the Middle East. So much of this comes out of the mouths of these Islamists who have taken stakeholds in our own country from which to attack our own people, to use our laws against us and to promote them, to use our civil liberties against us, but to protect them. If we fall, and we can, it's going to be because of things like this. CAIR's Ohio Executive Director, CAIR's CEO and founder, CAIR, a Hamas front group, as you know, founded at the Marriott Hotel next to the Philadelphia International Airport, where our FBI had wiretaps. The enemy within, linked to the enemy without. We have hundreds and hundreds, soon to be thousands of mosques being built in our country. I'm talking about a year. Strategically located. Population centers that are created, not spontaneously, created. And they're created to be segregated. And they're created to be run by Sharia law. And they are created to be the operation centers for foreign governments like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Iran. This is no joke. Ask the people who live in these communities. They will tell you. They're taking advantage of our federalist system where local governments make decisions about zoning. They are overwhelming the zoning boards and committees in these meetings. They're overwhelming the school board meetings. They are organized. They are funded. They are motivated. We, American citizens, we believe, leave well enough alone. Let people do as they wish if they don't bother us. It's our generosity, our beneficence, our rule of law, our principles, our Judeo-Christian system that is being exploited to be destroyed by CAIR and other traitor organizations. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. We're in the Power Hour, Hour 3. Our number, take calls, we believe, at the bottom of the hour, 877-381. 3811-877-381-3811. Please take advantage of our Liberty's Voice video podcast. It's available immediately right now on YouTube and on Rumble. Liberty's Voice. Please take advantage of it, seriously. We've done 6 now, and we'll continue to do this as long as you watch. You stop watching, I'll leave you alone. But I think you're going to like it. If you want to be informed, if you want to learn about your history, some philosophy, if you want to learn things that are not normally provided, I will do that. Happy to do it. I'm not going to be around forever doing these things. It's just the nature of the beast, you know. So while I am, I hope you can enjoy them and take advantage of them. This is from Just the News. As Georgia prosecutor pursued Trump, Biden Department of Justice invited her to get lucrative grant memo show. These people are such sleazeballs, and then they point the finger at everybody else. Fulton County DA Fannie Willis, her records turned over to Just the News after an open records lawsuit show her office received millions of dollars from the Biden Justice Department as she built her case against then-former President Donald Trump. That's how you get the payoff, see. That's how they grease the skids. The Biden Department of Justice invited, quote-unquote, Fulton County DA Fannie Willis to apply for a lucrative sole source grant, no competition, in 2022, at the same time she was pursuing an election interference investigation against Donald Trump, the eventual GOP nominee, of course. I want to document your recognition of our progress and services provided with dynamic partners as we complete sole source steps for our new grant award, a grant in which you are invited to apply, Willis wrote to the Justice Department Senior Policy Advisor Scott Pestridge in the Office of Justice Programs in December of 2022. Just crazy. All right, let's see here. The district attorney was highlighting the Justice Department's OJC Community-Based Violence Intervention and Prevention Initiative grant. Ready for this? From which her office ultimately received $2 million. $2 million. That is a massive grant. That award, which was opened in April 2022, as a competitive grant, appears to have been provided to Fulton County as the sole source, a sole source grant. According to the DA, the Justice Department defines a sole source procurement as non-competitive, meaning no other entity competed against Fulton for the reward. This award, which Willis said her office would use for community programs dedicated to ensure at-risk youth do not fall into crime or help, they reintegrate into society, and if they do, that was just a fraction of the more than $18 million in funding the Department of Justice gave the Fulton County Prosecutor's Office between 2021 and 2024. Man, that is a lot for a DA's office. And she got it. Let's see here. The letter was contained in a trove of thousands of pages of documents turned over after Just the News, alongside the nonprofit public interest law firm America First Legal. That's where my wife is general counsel. That is a great legal group. There's several of them, like Landmark Legal, too. Sued Willis for the records under Georgia's open records law. Willis, a longtime Trump nemesis, sought to hide many of the records. This is becoming a problem. You know, they went after the president, President Trump, over documents. But there's Kash Patel. They find documents revealing that he and Susie Wiles, the now chief of staff to the president, that their phone records were subpoenaed. For what? Nothing. In reaction to the lawsuit, Willis's office this week dropped all privilege claims and released all the documents without any redactions. More information than it ultimately did to congressional Republicans on the House Judiciary Committee. Fulton County DA's office didn't respond to a request for comment by Just the News. Now, beyond the grant details, the documents show that Willis's office coordinated extensively with the Biden Justice Department and White House, as well as Democrats on the House January 6 Investigative Committee. This should have been at the top of the article, I think, as she built a failed criminal case against President Trump and his allies. The award of the non-competitive grant for Willis came while her office was preparing that case and while federal prosecutors were investigating Donald Trump. Now, Willis, who became Fulton County DA in January 2021, vowed from the earliest days of her term to pursue an investigation into the president. Let's see here. Anything relevant? By August 2023, Willis indicted Trump and allies on state racketeering conspiracy and other charges. Let's see. Now, though the apparent reclassification of the... no, that doesn't tell us anything. The relationship between Fannie and Wade, the House Judiciary Committee. She was ultimately removed from the case, as you know, by the Georgia Court of Appeals because of her relationship with Dummy. The case was eventually dismissed. And that's that. So the point of the rather long article, to get to the gist of it, the point is that her office received a huge grant from the Department of Justice at the very time that she was going after the president and others. And furthermore, what should have been a competitive grant was doled out as a sole source grant, meaning no competition whatsoever. What do you think of that, Mr. Producer? Very sketchy. You got a lot of sketch going on in that administration. May I say, I think I did. A lot of sketch. But that Fannie Willis and her buddy Wade and all the rest of it was always kind of sleazy, don't you think? Well, a lot of things going on in San Francisco. Now, keep in mind, San Francisco is a radical left-wing Democrat city. Used to be beautiful. Now it's turned into crap. No offense. No offense. Tax the Jew chants break out at event held by Jewish mayor of San Francisco. Is there any other minority in the country that's treated this way and can get away with it? That people can get away with doing this? At a political event in San Francisco, individuals present chanting, "Tax the rich," switched their chants to tax the Jews. San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie stated, "This was an event I put on with District 5 Supervisor Bilal Mahmoud, labor leaders, and dozens of workers to announce a plan that creates more jobs for those workers and housing for San Franciscans." Suggesting that Jews are wealthy is a tired trope, targeting our community, an event focused on creating economic opportunity for San Franciscans is decidedly anti-Semitic, said the Democratic mayor. Well, he's on to something there. How many of you heard of Anna Kasparian? Have any of you heard of Anna Kasparian? She's a Jew hater. She, in my view, is a out-and-out bigot. She's part of this group, the Young Turks. They should be called the Young Punks. There's a fat slob guy who has Turkish ancestry. What's his name? Cenk something or other. Cenk Uygur. He's a bleeding hemorrhoid on the body politic. He's a plant, in my humble opinion. He's a mouthpiece for the enemy. And this moron, Anna Kasparian, you know, she's his lapdog, if you will. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Mark Penn is a good guy. He's a moderate Democrat. He's more than that, though. CEO of Stagwell Inc. and creator of a new political game. 270.com. I'm going to want to hear about that, Mr. Penn. That should be interesting. But before we do, you know, I would think certain institutions should be treated with respect, certain traditions that we have, like the State of the Union, and they're getting worse and worse. And this one was, in terms of the treatment of that institution and all the protesting, and we're not showing up, and the hollering and all. I just thought, at least from that perspective, it's the worst thing I've ever seen. Now, from my perspective, of course, I thought his speech was great. But whether you like a president or not, or a speech or not, is it really that hard to sit on your ass and watch?
Well, I mean, look, I agree with you on this. I worked on many states of the union with the president and was there in the hall.
Clinton,
and,
yeah.
You know, yes, with President Clinton, and people would applaud, and if we said something that everybody in the country should agree to, everybody would applaud, and if we said something we expected only Democrats to agree, but nevertheless, there was a decorum, there was a respect for the institution, for the presidency, and I just find that it degrades our politics when people just don't, you know, just show up, be respectful, applaud, don't applaud, but, you know, try to make scenes to get, like, you know, social media cues and then using curse words. I mean, you know, the whole irony is that the Democrats have been accusing Trump of taking political rhetoric down. And here you have Trump giving this amazingly powerful speech involving American heroes, and the Democrats are reduced to using curse words. I mean, it's funny in a lot of ways.
It's funny, and it hurt them, because apparently that speech rated pretty well in terms of television ratings, and I thought it was probably the greatest State of the Union speech I ever saw. And that includes the Reagan speeches. What did you think?
It certainly was up there. I mean, obviously, I worked on the era of big government is over. I'm definitely gonna count it up as a top. Well, he really took the art form of weaving the stories in. He had positive patriotic rhetoric. He was, I think, wisely chose to be respectful of the Supreme Court justices there. He disagreed with them, but he was respectful in doing that. But I think the combination of rhetoric and storytelling was excellent. I mean, he really encapsulated what he wants to do, who he wants to help, and delivered a combination of policy and emotion. And that is, as you know, not easy by any stretch of the imagination to deliver the way he did.
You know, Mark Penn, I'm watching what's going on in New York. That's your hometown, and it's a disaster, an absolute disaster. I'm watching what that mayor has to say. I'm watching the national Democrats shutting down TSA and FEMA and these other things over deportation and ICE and so forth. Do you think this is a wise strategy? I mean, there are people who believe, I'm one of them, who's very worried about it, from my perspective, that the Democrats will take the House, but they're really a mess.
Well, I would say, it's kind of very odd. The Democrats seem to be winning by losing. Meaning they seem to be ahead on some of the polls, and I have a new poll I'm anxiously awaiting for coming out tomorrow, a Harvard Caps Harris poll, which I'm really interested in seeing the results. But they've been ahead even though the Democrats are ranked lower than the Republicans because, there's a lot of unease among the electorate, a lot of feeling that the economy isn't going well. And right now, the president doesn't have majority support. The Republicans slightly below majority, the Democrats below majority. So that means the deciding voters are unhappy with everybody. And that's always bad for the ins. So we'll see exactly, what happens and how this plays out and whether the president is successful at turning around what people perceive the economy and how it's going. We were with President Clinton in 96, starting with our State of the Union. 6 months later, we had a tremendous change in opinion about the economy. And that really is the critical thing in terms of how they were voted. So, and I've never seen a thing which you have now, which is the Democrats are the lowest rating, but they're still ahead.
What accounts for that? That is weird.
As I said, it's when voters are there. The voters, in the first term of Trump, before the pandemic, everybody in America agreed the economy was going well. Those were happy times. It would have been really quite difficult, I think, for him to lose anything. He hasn't quite brought that feeling back because even though the Biden administration was responsible for the inflation, when I ask people, is the economy growing or shrinking? They think it's shrinking. If I ask people, is inflation getting bigger or smaller? They say bigger, even though I know that the answer is that there's near record economic growth, even though I know the answer that inflation has come down considerably and some items are cheaper. That hasn't registered yet.
Mm-hmm. It also looks like, though, that things are in place for much bigger growth, even with the tax cuts that he's put in place and the regulatory restrictions and so forth. That would certainly help him, too, if there's a additional explosion of growth, no?
Yeah, look, the speech was constructed to put all of that stuff up front for the simple reason that he knows what I just told you, right?
Yeah.
He knows that right? He put the foreign policy at the back. He put all the economic stuff and the improvement in the economy, up front. And look, what I think he should continue to do a better job at is explaining, I have a strategy to improve the economy. That strategy is to reduce taxes, cut regulation, rein in, government expenditures, get better trade deals, economically, and reverse climate policies to bring down energy prices, right? When I worked with President Clinton, we always had a 5-point plan. You always kind of knew what those elements were. Now, I know what the elements are. I just explained them, but I think that he could do a better job explaining, I've got a 5-point plan. We're working on that plan, and that's what's going to be successful. And at the same time, there's tremendous innovation and investment in the innovation of AI. Hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars are being invested in this economy, and that has to drive increased growth.
I want to ask you a question, and I'd like to hold you over because I don't think we're going to have time to get the full answer yet. I've never asked you this. What was it like working for Bill Clinton? Was he smart? Was he attentive? Was he stubborn? Was he willing to take information you would give him and apply it? I'm just curious about that. That's my sense of it. But stick with us. Mark Penn, pollster extraordinaire, CEO of the Stagwell Inc. and creator of a new political game I want to ask him about, 270.com. We'll be right back.
Mark Penn, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
And we are here with Mark Penn. So what was it like working for President Clinton?
Well, I think President Clinton wasn't human. He was superhuman. I mean, I've worked with smart people and so forth, but he really, if we were playing cards, he could play all 4 hands. He had an incredible intellectual ability to juggle all of the various things in the most difficult job, in the world. So, and I found, he
was friendly? Was he nice?
Yes, he was very friendly. He was nice. But he was always under the presidency was really pressured.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at, from the time I came on, which was after the '94 congressional elections, and in came the Republicans, and we made all of the deals relative to welfare reform and balanced budget, and then when things seemed at ease, he got impeached. So he was always under a lot of pressure. And you could see that, like finally when impeachment was over was the only time that I think he could really kind of smile, with a little less pressure. But he was incredible to work for. It was incredible experience. He was very, very serious about trying to make the country better for people. That was his goal.
Do you keep in touch from time to time? Or?
I haven't seen him lately. The Clintons and I'm a little bit more, let's just say I stayed in my political spectrum is the way I'd say it. They're over in theirs. I had 13 years with both of them. And by the way, I think the Republicans made a tremendous mistake today.
What happened? Oh, going after her?
Well, going after Hillary. Well, I don't know how.
I think it's irrelevant. Honestly. When they poll, maybe you do these Epstein case, even though Washington's excited and congressmen are excited of both parties and podcasters are trying to make a living off it, I think most people are fed up with it.
Yeah, look, I'm looking in the poll to see how much interest, but okay, President Clinton, he's going to have to explain some pictures there, but she didn't have anything to do with it, and to the extent that they might have gotten some sympathy from women over Epstein, hauling her in when she had nothing to do with Epstein it's
going to matter. I really don't. But I'm not involved in it because, look, if something pops up that's important that I need to report, I report it. But this thing is, it's got a life of its own at this point. And I think there's too much going on in this country that needs our focused attention, to be honest. Tell us about this game, 270.com.
Yeah, what I found was that there were games for everything. Games for the mafia, games for, combat, games for everything. There aren't political games. So I made a political game. It's 270.com. You play, then you download 270 U.S. election. You get $250,000 a day and you run your campaign. And you try to get state groups. And you can play President Trump. You can play Hillary Clinton. You can be whomever you want. Every character has a different quality, and it's a serious game. It takes like 45 minutes. You can play the computer. You can play other people. But, I found a lot of kids of politicians were playing the game because there's just almost no serious political game. So it's 270. I got the, the significance of 270.
Yeah, you need 270 to win.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. Serious strategy.
That sounds interesting.
A lot of your listeners will like it, and they learn something about the Electoral College and how it works, and the college versus the popular vote, and they can try their hand at political strategy.
All right, my friend. It's Mark Penn. Give it a shot, folks. 270.com. Be a very interesting gift, I think. 270.com. Good luck to you, my friend. You take care of yourself.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much.
All right, you got it. All right. One of the few moderates left. Julian Epstein, you got Fetterman. I mean, you can count them on one hand. Certain stories grab my attention. And this one grabs my attention. Why Martin Short's daughter, Catherine, changed her name before her death. He and his wife adopted three children from different backgrounds when they were young. Martin Short's wife died of cancer, I think 2010, 2012, something like that, 2012. This daughter, his oldest daughter that he adopted, she wanted to have a private life. She didn't want to be in the public view. She became a psychiatric social worker, helping all these other people who had mental issues and so forth. Eventually, later in her life, she opened up her own private practice. I can see her weight would fluctuate by the pictures, fairly thin to fairly heavy. And she had her own mental issues, perhaps bipolar. And the neighbor who they spoke to said she just seemed very pleasant. She committed suicide. A few days back. She was struggling with her own mental issues. She had a service dog named Joni, who she said was assisting her with her own mental illness for the past 5 years. And the neighbor said she didn't show any indication that she was struggling. Most people said no indication, but she committed suicide. I feel so sorry for people who feel so hopeless that they take their own life. And so sorry for the parents and other family members. Because I am sure this is incredibly difficult to deal with. Mental illness is a real thing. It's a big thing. Mental illness like this, dementia, Alzheimer's, these are terrible, terrible diseases. And they still really haven't figured out how to deal with them. And so this just kind of hit me. Her last public appearance was a little over 2 years ago when she celebrated her 40th birthday at a restaurant. And there's an article here that Martin Short is inconsolable. And, of course, they start spreading rumors and other stuff that I'm simply not going to get involved in. Anyway, so we wish them, it seems so strange to say, we wish them all the best. We really do. It's just a terrible, terrible thing. All right. Let's go ahead. I'm pulling up some callers. I'm calling up the call board here. Give me a second. There it is. Pat, Mount Pleasant, Utah, on the Mark Levin app. How are you?
Yes. Good. Thank you for taking my call.
Of
and
course.
Thank you for all that you do.
Thank
I
you.
trust what you say. I have been a listener for years, off and on.
Yeah.
This is my question and comment. The Wall Street Journal, as I heard from a friend, is saying that the government is pulling those who have green cards and sending them back to their own country. Want to know if that's true? And can you explain a little bit more about green cards? I know nothing. And does this mean that they are illegal? And I agree that illegals need to be sent back. And then I hear that it's very difficult for those coming into our country to become legal. And is that
all right? Let me chip away at it. I'm not an expert on immigration, but I know what a green card is. It's a permanent resident card, so it's issued to non-citizens, and they have a legal right to live and work permanently in the United States. But the government does have the power, depending on the circumstances, to withdraw that card. So if somebody commits a crime, or somebody is a terrorist, or somebody's trying to overthrow the United States, that status can be challenged. But the goal is to provide people with a permanent resident in the United States. So that's what a green card is. Are they pulling green cards? I don't know. I haven't seen stories that they're running around pulling green cards, but it's possible that they're picking up people who have conducted themselves in certain ways that are problematic to this society. And, you know, that's the number one thing about immigration people don't understand. That is, the purpose of immigration is to improve society and to improve the lot of the citizens who are here. Our representatives are supposed to represent us. So, what was your other question? I'm sorry. Hello?
Well,
yeah.
Does this have to do with all nationalities? They can
Yes.
get a green card?
Well, I don't think it's based. I think it's based on the individual. It's based on the individual. But for instance, if you get a green card and you commit a criminal act, you commit fraud and so forth, the card can be revoked.
Mm-hmm. That's understandable.
Doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. All right?
But if
I
there's
appreciate
not a
you
problem-
listening. I really appreciate it very, very much. And thank you for calling. It wasn't too painful, I don't think. There are other reasons you can lose your green card. If you abandon your permanent residence, you're given a green card, but in the interim, you basically live overseas in another country. Criminal convictions, fraudulent activities, violation of immigration laws, and things of that sort. And there's apparently a long list of people who fit that. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Just a reminder, folks, as we come to the close of the program, perfect time to check in on Liberty's Voice. It's a really great show this evening. You can go to Rumble and view it right there. You can go to YouTube and view it right there. If you go on any of my social sites, we have a direct link to it. I hope you'll check it out. Please share it with your friends and family. Make them aware of it. We want to grow our video podcast into something that can help make a difference in the midterm elections and throughout. We need to push back against the enemies within and these very negative forces. And unfortunately, so much of podcasting has turned into a horrible cesspool. And so we're going to be a bright light and a safe harbor and push your agenda, your principles, Americanism. That's the goal. As long as you watch, we'll do it. We can keep track of how many people watch, not who watches. But if we don't get a fairly significant number of people who care about it, then it's a project and we will move on. So far, we're having a lot of fun. All right. Moses, Fairfax, Virginia, the great WMAL. Go.
Yeah. Okay. I have I'm a aspiring reporter, and what I noticed is that why we lost the election in Virginia and how we are going to lose it again in the upcoming election. And so here's my analysis. I saw the poll workers, and which are inside and outside. Okay, I took pictures of some of those people, which was not really allowed, but just for my own information and also to prove what I'm looking at. And those same people, I see them at the DNC events, and those same people are the ones who run nonprofit organizations who get funding from the state and from the cities. Okay, so they have an infrastructure which is...
All right, so you're saying they're working the polls as judges and observers. They're at the DNC. They're hardcore Democrats. Yeah, that's a problem. No question about it. Thanks for passing that on, too. We appreciate it. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine. We haven't forgotten you. The men and women in Iran, definitely. The men and women in Israel, and you, the American people. God bless each and every one of you.